This is Mike Johnson, and coming up next is an interview with Jamaica's High Commissioner to the UK, His Excellency Alexander Williams. We'll be speaking about Jamaica's disaster recovery program following Hurricane Beryl. I started by asking him about the government's assessment of the damage caused and what are their priorities.
Well, the damage was more significant to the southern end of the island, and in particular, the parishes of St. Elizabeth and Clarendon. We have had just about over 1 billion, and that's a B, $1 billion in damage to hospitals and health clinics alone. About 385 roads blocked, over 1,000 homes damaged or destroyed that have lost their roof. There's, of course, loss of life as well, I should tell you. I think it's about 2 or so persons that have lost their lives. So it, whilst it could have been worse, it has been very, very significant and all of that. And the damage assessment, as you can imagine, as we go out into the highways and byways, we're seeing even more. At the height of it, we lost 60% of power to the customers for electricity. I understand that as of the 10th of July, this is according to the Jamaica Public Service. So let me just say that there, that
Okay.
90% has been restored, but I keep getting information and complaints that people in certain areas where the JPS says power has been restored, it may be the main road, but not the roads off the main road
Right.
that
Okay.
have not been quite restored yet. But I know that JPS is working assiduously with its team, to try and get power up in all the areas. So that in a nutshell is the nature of the damage assessed so far.
Right. You gave a small list there of some of the damage, but where have you or the government placed the emphasis now? What are the priorities in terms of the recovery process?
Well, first of all is to get the essentials in place, which is the electricity, water, and food where necessary. So steps are being taken to do that. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management has done their reconnaissance and all of that, and have come up with a comprehensive needs list, which we have been circulating all over, all social media and all of that, and all the missions across the world to see to it that we can have the restoration that we need. And in addition to that, the government, in tandem with the private sector, I should say the National Commercial Bank, have set up a fund which is going straight to ADPEM, and during the course of this interview, I can give you the website.
Yes, please.
For donations to be made. And the expectation, I understand that NCB will match what goes into that fund equally, up to a limit of 150 million. So these are the things that have been put in place. And I don't mind telling you, part of the reasons why it hasn't been as bad as it could have been is the efficiency of ADPEM. There was significant preparation done. And, so that is part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, in situations like this, there's a knee-jerk reaction usually to want to reach out and to help your own family and send stuff down and so on. That's natural.
Yeah.
But in terms of a greater efficiency, is the government trying to encourage using that bank facility there to make contributions so that the work can be done on a larger scale and more
efficiently? Absolutely. Let me begin by saying, of course, nothing wrong in people wanting to benefit their families directly, and nothing wrong in charities wanting to do their charity work. They have schools, they have hospitals, they have what have you that they target, and nothing wrong with that. But what we can tell you in a national assessment way, we don't need clothing, certainly don't need second-hand clothing. We don't need electrical items that are not compatible with the voltage situation here in Jamaica. We know that the needs surround a lot of hardware items that are needed for rebuilding. So that was what was gone into our needs list. So while families and charities, we won't stop them from doing their thing. We have to focus on what the national priorities are, which is reflected in the needs list
Yeah.
that we have
Yeah.
issued.
Right, right. And you touched on earlier on with the JPS, and you said maybe the main roads have been sorted, but the off roads are still, not getting, because in situations like this, the rural areas do tend to be literally cut off.
Indeed,
Trees blocking roads, bridges are out, and so on and
indeed.
so forth.
Yeah.
And so, is there an extra effort to meet
Oh,
those
absolutely.
outlying needs?
Absolutely. And
Mm.
can I tell you, the first things, those roads that I said were blocked in the immediate aftermath of the hurricane have just about all been cleared now, just
Hmm.
about. And it has to do with the input of the local councillors, the parish disaster committees
Hmm.
that operate on a local level, and just before the hurricane hit, um, earth moving equipment and what have you were strategically placed in certain areas, knowing that once the blockage and took place, then we could activate those, which meant, of course, engaging private contractors and what have you who have this type of equipment. So all of that had been done.
Yeah,
Most of those roads, just about all of them, have been cleared right now.
yeah,
So yeah, getting into the highways and byways, and all of this is coordinated by ODPEM, who works with the local political leadership, with the local councillors and the parish disaster committees that exist.
yes. I'm hearing a little bit of my next question being answered in terms of, for those of us who don't face this kind of challenge year in, year out. What are some of the key points of the government's disaster recovery strategy in terms of on a parish by parish level? Are there certain areas where there's mass storage of equipment and so on and so forth? How does it work?
Yeah, actually, and yes, the parish disaster committees, they are each tasked with identifying areas through ODPEM where storage and, of course, the what's the word I want now? For the homeless, those who lose their homes, um, those were operationalized where people could go in and be safe whilst the hurricane was taking place. And we actually had over 400 persons staying in those locations. And I'll say this: part of the problem we have in Jamaica is that with certain informal settlements, let us just say they don't build necessarily to code,
Hmm.
and they
Yes.
may build in areas where they ought not to. And the Disaster Risk Management Act, which is in place, allows for compulsorily requiring people to vacate certain areas, which we try not to rely on, but we have to, we do. And the Prime Minister did make an announcement and did put that in place just prior to the hurricane hitting. But we know these areas. We know where people are affected when they build by the gully banks, they
Hmm.
build up something, and for whatever reason. And so those areas are in particular targeted by ODPEP to see. We know that's what's going to happen there, and so we try to move in as best as possible to put the provisions in place to deal with those persons.
Right. I've been watching very carefully the progress of the road infrastructure in Jamaica, the
Yes.
Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project, and so on. Because I was there maybe a couple of years ago, and I drove from Kingston to St. Thomas to Bath. A journey that would normally take me under an hour took me nearly 3 hours because of the road work that was going on all along the way. It's great to see the new infrastructure up and running. But you mentioned that another area of infrastructure was damaged. Hospitals
Yes.
were damaged. Is there going to be a shift now from road infrastructure to health infrastructure to help the country
Well,
take
put it
another
this
step
way.
up?
Yeah, it let's just not call it a shift.
Okay.
You have to be able to what you say now, eat gum, chew gum, and walk at the same time.
All right, yeah.
It's a multifaceted approach. The Ministry of Health is focused on restoring those hospitals and clinics, and I understand it. Funds are being identified to do just that, and I understand that work has actually commenced. So, what I will say is that ODPEM is tasked now with seeing to it that essential services are restored to the population in the quickest possible time. That is what ODPEM is charged in overseeing. But of course, government agencies do have their work. And so the Ministry of Health, in tandem with that happening, is seeing to the restoration of the hospitals and clinics. And I don't mind telling you, I don't have a recent update as to where we are with that. And now that you have mentioned it, I'm going to reach out and see if I can get an update as to what the restoration is going in that area.
That would be great. That would be great. Now, you mentioned a couple of things, the bank account and also the needs list.
Yes.
So let us know how we can access those two things and make contributions to that.
Any social media platform that you're on, and if you put in Jamaica High Commission, the needs list will pop up.
Okay.
And I'm just showing you, we really tried our very best, but we couldn't reduce it to less than 4 pages. But the needs list covers electrical, fuel and equipment, search and rescue equipment, building supplies, tools, farming supplies, shelter supplies, generators, and health equipment that will be needed, like oxygen cylinders, tarpaulins, vaccine, refrigerators, etc. Pretty comprehensive list.
Yeah.
But once you go on any one of those social media platforms, or you go to our website, you will see the needs list. And of course, you can always call the Jamaica High Commission and you will give you the needs list as well. The donations go to disasterfund.opm.gov.jm. Let me repeat that.
Yep.
disasterfund.opm.gov.jm. And when you look for the needs list, you'll also see there as well, that is there. And also for wire transfers, there's an NCB account for the Office of Disaster Preparedness, which is there. The account number is 212-387-304. That's 212-387-304. And that information can be obtained in on all those platforms as well.
That's great.
But I might just back up to say, when it comes to the needs list, you will of course want to know where and when to drop off your items. Please send an email to cro@jhcuk.com. Now repeat again, cro@jhcuk.com. And you'll get your information as to where and when you should drop off your items.
That's great. I'm really appreciative of your time this morning. Jamaica High Commissioner to the UK, His Excellency Alexander Williams. Thank you so much, sir, for really opening up to us what's going on there in our great land. And we look forward to a great recovery project going on there.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, sir. Take care.
Thank you.
God bless. In the description box, you'll find links to the needs list, the drop-off locations and contact details. But please note that they will only accept items on the needs list and you must call ahead. There's also a link to the Disaster Fund website.